I will rip out your limbs. Charlie, be honest with me, are you crazy? The boy asked his companion, who had already made her way through the broken window of the abandoned laboratory. Near the abandoned building were the two teenagers, who had barely made it to the restricted area. Oh, Leo, don't tell me you're scared. The girl climbed into the room and turned to the boy to help him in without incident. No, I'm not, it's just... Leo grasped Charlie's hand and climbed inside. What if someone sees us? Like a guard or something. Don't be absurd, the dark-haired girl brushed him off. No one's wanted this place in years, it's been abandoned. Well, all the same. There are terrible rumors about this place. The brown-haired man surveyed the room from all sides, as if he were afraid someone might hear them talking. They say they've done terrible experiments on people here. They've mutilated them, amputated and sewn limbs on, even sewn a second head or prosthetics with blades and spikes. And, what do you mean by all this? The teenager did not understand why her friend was so worried, because all this horror that took place within the walls of this building was a long time ago, and now this place just stands for nothing. And the fact that the creatures with whom all these experiments were conducted may be here. Puff, hello. If they were ever here, they probably starved to death. Charlie turned her back on her wayfarer, and followed her down the corridor. Hey, stop. Leo followed her briskly, often stumbling over rocks and glass. The boys made their way to the back of the lab. They, or rather Charlie, had set herself the goal of finding something of the cones and all sorts of drugs, but most of all she wanted to sneak into the basement, where all the atrocities often heard about from the locals took place. She fully hoped that no one had gotten into that cursed place, because like the guy said, there could be monsters here, but Blue-Eyed Girl didn't believe that at all. Stupid people, they had to make that up. And what about Leo? The girl had taken him for company, so that she wouldn't be so bored and could talk. After a short time, they're on the -1st floor. All kinds of papers are scattered everywhere. There are a couple of cabinets that haven't fallen down yet, some knickknacks still standing in them. The guy is still walking in the back and constantly clinging his shoe to some junk. It makes him feel as if something has grabbed him, so it often makes him twitch. Charlie stepped closer to one of the closets to get a better look at the contents. Yes, just as she guessed, papers, a vase, flasks, a gas lamp, even some cognac. All in all, nothing out of the ordinary. Just as the girl thought about her own things, she heard a squeak that made her shiver. She turned around and saw her companion, who had climbed up on a chair that was already barely standing. Are you a fool? Charlie asked angrily. She already regretted bringing the coward with her. There was something running through there. Mumbling nervously, Leo pointed to the floor. Oh, come on, it must have been a rat. She went on searching for the cellar door, not paying any more attention to the boy. After almost an hour, the guy responded, Hey, Charlie, come here. What is it again? Come here, I'm telling you. The girl chuckled grudgingly, but walked over to the guy anyway. And what are you? The girl was speechless when she saw the big wall rug that hid the door. Isn't that what I think it is? It must be. Wonderful. Charlie was literally glowing with happiness. She hadn't expected it would be so easy to find the door. The only problem was, the door was locked tight. I can try. The guy walked to the door, reached into his pocket, and pulled out a bow tie pin? Leo knew how to surprise. While Charlie wondered why he needed the hairpin, and where it had come from, Leo started breaking down the door. Surprisingly, he was doing it professionally. About 15 minutes later, there was a click of an open door. Done, the brown-haired man stepped back and opened the door a little. Wow, you're fast. At least you're of some use, the girl sniggered, and the guy mumbled something in reply. Okay, let's go downstairs. Maybe we shouldn't. I got a bad feeling about this, she called out. I don't want to go down there. I don't think so. While the green-eyed man was saying that it might be dangerous, Charlie sneaked inside without waiting for the boy. What did she need him for? She could stand there forever and tell him he was scared, but he wouldn't be any use to her except for the fact that he'd managed to open the door. Asterisk him, it's a nice place. It's dusty and scattered, but it makes it look even cooler. She had never been in a place like this before. She began to look around the basement completely. It was a shame that there was no lighting, but still a little light came from a small window at the very top near the ceiling. So without thinking too much, Charlie turned on the flashlight on her phone. Now she was sure to get a good look at every detail of this laboratory. There were already a lot of cabinets that were filled with flasks and jars of contents. The girl stepped closer to them and began to stare. A green liquid, an embryo of some kind of chick or some other animal, she didn't know much about that, then some other liquid. What was it, I wondered, and what was it for? Then a human hand, wait, what? The girl took another look at one of the jars, hoping she was imagining things, but after a while she threw up there really was a hand in the jar. Charlie looked down in disgust, but soon regretted it, because below were human organs, arms, legs, brain, eyes, even skin and lips. The blue-eyed girl couldn't help herself and spewed out the scrambled eggs she'd been eating for lunch. She was already too tired to see what was in the other cabinets, so she went to the operating table and the couches. There the sight was not one of pleasure, everything was stained already in old, dried and brown blood. There were instruments on the operating table with bits of skin showing. It was disgusting. What a disgusting thing. The girl stepped away from the table. She should not have done that. Suddenly she felt the bare part of her leg something shaggy and seemingly big. The girl quickly covered her mouth with her hand, so as not to scream. It certainly wasn't a rat, it just couldn't be that big. It cautiously stepped back to its original position, which made the thing run off into the darkness of the room. It scared the crap out of Charlie. As the creature ran, there was a thud on the floor, as if a blade had been drawn across the concrete. Without thinking long, the blue-eyed woman headed toward the door, but abruptly there was a loud pop. The door closed. Damn, Leo must have been playing a joke. She headed for the door and whispered, Leo, you jerk, open the door, there's something running around. No answer heard. Leo, damn it, open up, this isn't funny anymore. The girl said louder, and deeply regretted it. After a while she heard blades on the floor again. Charlie dared to turn around in the direction of the sound. She turned around and froze. There was something standing in front of her, near the wall, where there was a window. She covered her mouth with both hands, holding back the scream that was about to burst out. She continued to stare at the creature, examining it. This thing was tall, eerily thin, with limbs missing from the heels to half a calf, replaced by blades shaped like spikes or the like. The hunch was true, after all, the floor was scratched with blades. It's amazing how it can still stand. The girl continued to examine the creature. Long hair, which made no face visible, only an ugly mouth with yellow teeth that showed red spots. The skin was cadaverous in color, pale with a bluish tint, stitches that oozed blood, pimples, or blisters, it was not clear. Across her body are eyes that stare intently at the girl. Charlie restrained herself from throwing up again, but she couldn't stand it. The contents of her stomach were already settling on the floor. She just couldn't understand how it was still alive. In spite of all this, the creature was dressed in a thin blouse that already looked more like a rag, dirty pants with one side rolled up above the knee. The clothes are the most notable sign that it once had something human in it. "Oh God, what are you?" was the last thing the girl could utter before the thing pounced on her. The unknowing thing pounced on the girl, dropping her to the floor. Then began to stare at its guest of her lair, driving its sharp blades across her delicate skin, leaving scratches. The monster reeked strongly of rot. Please don't kill me." The girl began to cry, and the creature responded, "You are so beautiful. You have such limbs. I want them too." The creature was silent. Then it raised its head and continued with mad excitement, "I know. I'll rip your limbs out and take them for myself." After these words, Charlie felt a hell of a pain in the leg. The unknown thing with its blades began to literally tear the girl's leg, trying to tear it off. The skin was clinging to the sharp ends of the blades, and so it tore away, causing even more pain. The girl screamed and lashed out, begged for mercy, but it didn't help. The pain hit the other leg as well. The same horror was done to her. Then the creature stopped and pierced the girl's arm in a flash. She didn't scream anymore, but rather wheezed, since she had no strength and her voice was almost gone. The thing began to cut and tear the skin on her arm. It did it very clumsily, which made it painful. The skin and meat clung to the thorns again, and trying to get rid of the meat, the creature waved its arms, causing the pieces to fly away. The arm was connected to the body only by a bone, but that didn't last long either. The creature lifted one of the arms and stabbed the girl in the bone, shattering it to pieces. Charlie didn't have the strength to scream anymore, much less try to break free. The thing did the same nightmare to her other arm. After a while, it stopped and moved a little away from the girl, or what was left of her. The blue-eyed girl had a horrible picture in front of her. Her legs were so stripped that above her thighs they were only held on bones. Pieces of her own meat were scattered around. There was almost nothing left of her legs, let alone her arms. They had been ripped off. Her strength began to leave her. She realized that nothing could save her anyway. There was almost nothing left of her. It was the end. With these thoughts, the girl threw her head back, took her last breath, and froze. How clumsy I am. Ruined such an opportunity. Too bad, your limbs were really pretty, just like your friends. The creature moved away from the girl's remnants. Fucking hell, what happened here? The guard nervously looked around the first floor, while shining his flashlight on the body of what looked like a guy who was completely missing his limbs. They looked like they had been ripped out alive. After looking at the pieces of the poor guy for a few seconds, the man decided to go down to the basement, which to his surprise was open. Just as he went in, the nausea rose again. The basement reeked horribly of dead meat, and there were chunks of meat everywhere. No sooner had Victor dialed the police number than the door slammed shut. From the basement came the shrill screams of a man.